Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Better Off Dead. NFL edition, week 9, is that where we're at? I don't know. 2 losing days in a row for the first time in probably over a month, so that's fucking fun. Regardless of what happens with the shitty Seattle Kraken, who might get a win for me to limit the damage quite a bit here. Never going to give out a total again in football. Everything can just go to hell. I'll talk about it more tomorrow. I think the other college football loss was bullshit. I think Ottawa, that loss was pretty much bullshit. I'm not happy about any of this. I need to grow a fucking beard back immediately. I'm sick of looking like a fucking morbidly obese baby. Fuck all this shit. Charles, what's up, man? Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Dodgers, but, I mean, at least I was right about the Dodgers winning and about Yamamoto. I assume I still have it on. I assume Yamamoto is going to be the MVP, but I don't know. I was watching the rest of that game, so I'm going to take my headphones off as usual. That's why I'm late for this. I was waiting to watch. I was watching the end of the game while I was finishing the handicap. I'm actually going to have 3 NFL plays here. You're down a ton. I mean, I'm not. Like if Seattle wins, this will be it'll be what, like 3-3 today or something, so it won't be that bad. NBA got back on track today. I'm going to talk about it more tomorrow because I think I won't have a whole lot to talk about tomorrow morning because the NFL is going to be what this show is about. So let's talk about it now. I've got the look-ahead lines up. We're ready to go. I'm giving out 3 plays today, and they're all probably the ugliest underdogs you could possibly think of. That's just the way that it is working out this time. Don't even know if I should be doing it, but I am. Hopefully it works out okay, because I'm worried about it. Last week I was really good in the NFL, so probably going to regress a little bit. First game up is going to be Bears-Bengals. The Bears have flipped from a 1-point dog to a 2.5-point favorite. Almost a 3-point favorite on the road here. 51% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on the Bears. So the money is coming in on the Bears. I mean, I don't have a huge reason to disagree with this. The look-ahead line on this was Bears 1.5, though, so it looks like there's probably not a lot of value because I think mostly this line has moved, I think, too far, probably based on what we saw last week, I guess. Just because Cincinnati losing to the Jets, I think is pretty much why the line moved. So, I mean, I almost want to slightly disagree with the market in this one because, I mean, Cincinnati losing to the Jets is just ridiculous. But I told you how bad that spot was. I mean, Cincinnati had beaten Pittsburgh, huge divisional win on Thursday night, and everybody saw that in primetime, and everybody was like anointing Joe Flacco again and whatever. And I told you they were going to have a little bit of a regression, and they blew the game against the Jets. They lost the game against the Jets. But, I mean, losing to the Jets is pretty embarrassing. So, in a way, I want to almost say that Cincinnati's going to bounce back here. Chicago last week, I mean, they did lose as well, though, to Baltimore, which was, the other game that I was right about on Sunday. The Baltimore Ravens coming off the bye there. Without Lamar Jackson, but the Ravens are still, I mean, I said they were in a good spot. They were the better team. I mean, I figured they were going to win that game. That did end a win streak for the Bears, too. So, I mean, football is less streaky, but still, the Bears hadn't lost since week 2, so I could see that kind of hanging them over a little bit into this game. So, I mean, I almost, again, want to disagree with the market here and say that maybe if you get a 3, taking it with the Bengals might actually make sense here. Probably the only issue I would have with that is that the Bengals, you could potentially argue that they're looking ahead because they do have Pittsburgh again next. So, although it's after a bye. So, they go into a bye and then they play Pittsburgh again. The money is saying the Bears. I don't really love it. I think there might be a little bit of value on the Bengals. The spot, to me, seems slightly better for the Bengals to me. But I don't know, man, because when I wind up making all my picks for the week, I kind of tend to lean towards the market if I don't really have that strong of an opinion. So this is one I really don't have a strong opinion on. I think maybe when I do the final market read tomorrow, I will maybe give out a final opinion on that, because I know you guys want my picks, but that's one that's just like, I don't know what the hell to pick in that game. The Bears, yeah. I mean, maybe depending on what number your pick'em game has, maybe it still makes sense to take the Bears unless it's a 3, which is pretty unlikely. 49ers at Giants, another one that I have difficulty with because I usually don't want to lay points to the public road favorite, and the 49ers are definitely one of those. 67% of the tickets, but 80% of the cash on the 49ers. They've been basically just sitting around a 3-point favorite, 2.5-point favorite. Look ahead was right in line with that at 3, so the line really hasn't moved. As far as the spot, San Francisco coming off kind of an ugly loss last week to Houston, although I expected that. I gave out Houston as a lean on the show here. It was not one of my plays. I know some professional bettors were on Houston in that one, and I did not disagree with it. So the 49ers did take that loss. It was an ugly loss. The thing I don't like about the Niners here is they're playing a second straight road game, and they're actually playing 4 road games in 5 weeks, even though the first one of those was on a Thursday, but still. They pulled off an upset at LA at the Rams. Then they had to go to Tampa Bay. They came back cross-country to play at home, the game that I gave out the 49ers. They beat Atlanta. Then they had to go back out again to Houston last week and play that game. Now, I don't know if they went back home. I'm guessing they probably didn't, but they still have to fly now to the East Coast for the second time this year. And the only time they did that, they lost to Tampa, although, of course, the Giants are not as good as Tampa. But I don't love all the travel that the 49ers are doing, even though I talk about how they had a weak schedule this year and that their opponents are pretty weak. Their remaining schedule is pretty weak, although, of course, the Giants are one of those weak teams. But I don't know if I love the spot, man. Meanwhile, the Giants, they're only coming back from Philadelphia, although they were in high elevation the previous week. But they're coming back home here, maybe wanting to bounce back after a pretty ugly loss to the Eagles last week, although that was a big game, but it was revenge for the Eagles. I told you I thought the Eagles might be able to cover that one, which they did. Scatterbo got hurt, of course, notably, so he's out of the... Really, contrary to what people think, he actually wasn't putting up a whole lot of rushing numbers, but he was doing a lot in the passing game, which is what was making him good. I picked up Tracy in fantasy because he was unowned. So Tracy will be the starter. I don't think Tracy is really that bad, though. So I have difficulty with this one, too, man, because the market read is saying 49ers. I mean, the Bears and the Giants play each other next week, by the way, so I don't think there's really a look ahead for either of those teams in that respect. I know some professionals that like the 49ers here. The money looks like it's saying the 49ers. Similar to the Bears, I mean, I kind of disagree. I would slightly lean to the Giants based on the scheduling spot, but I don't really have that strong of an opinion on it, so I might wind up having to go with what the market is saying by the time we see what it looks like tomorrow. So, again, it's almost a wait-and-see approach. Like, if you want to just go straight up with what the market is saying, it would be Bears 49ers. I think the scheduling spot is like slightly in opposition to that. So that's what I have to say about those. Falcons at Patriots. The Patriots are from a 3-point favorite to a 5-point favorite. The 3 was basically the look ahead. The look ahead was 2.5. But now because the Falcons, basically because they lost to the fucking Dolphins, now the Falcons are getting 5 points here. Oh, my mistake. I forgot to point out one thing about the 49ers. Brock Purdy is back. I apologize. I forgot to mention that because I was reminded of that because Atlanta, I think, is going to have Penix back as well. 49ers, I believe, have Brock Purdy back. So that's another thing that that makes me like the 49ers less, actually. And by the way, the 49ers got really, really lit up on the scoreboard by Houston, which is not a good sign because Houston is not a good offense. They're a good defense, not a good offense. But Houston, in this game, where are the yardage totals? Yeah, Houston put up 475 yards of offense in that game to the 49ers 223. So Houston just massacred them statistically. Like, it should not have even been close on the scoreboard. So that's another thing that makes the 49ers look a little bit worse. I mean, the score makes the 49ers look not as bad as they actually were in that game. I should put it that way. And Brock Purdy, if he comes back here, I think that's actually a bad thing because he's been out for a long time. So, never mind. He's not starting. Never mind. I thought that the line seemed to indicate that maybe he'd be back, but I don't think the line actually moves that much between Purdy and Mac Jones. I actually don't think there's that much of a drop off. He's not starting, so that's the answer to that. So never mind. I'm going around in circles, man. Never mind. But I was going to say if Purdy was starting, that would make me have a tendency to want to fade the 49ers more because Purdy hasn't played in so long, and he'd have to get back in, into the lineup, and he'd have to get used to it again. He'd have to regain that chemistry with the team, whatever, So it would be like a reverse injured player spot, basically. So I really wouldn't like the 49ers if that was the case. But it looks like they are going to still go with Mac Jones here. So they at least have continuity there. So at least that takes that off the table. Falcons at Patriots, though, like I already was saying, the Patriots are now a 5-point favorite instead of the look ahead, which was 2.5 or 3. I think it's almost entirely because Atlanta was so bad last week against the Dolphins. Kirk Cousins, I thought he was going to be decent, because I thought he was going to be healthy again here, and he was awful. It wasn't even really a turnover thing in that game. It was just that the Falcons could not move the ball at all, and they seem like they're not even really willing to run the football, though, of course, once they fell behind, they couldn't really do that. But the Falcons, they're just such an up-and-down team, man. I mean, one minute they're, beating the Buffalo Bills, although it was a bad spot for the Bills. The next minute they're losing to the Miami Dolphins or getting shut out by Carolina, although I gave out Carolina as a play in that game, and I had Miami as a lean, although I wasn't that strong about it last week, and that eliminated me from Survivor. And by the way, I'm out of fucking college Survivor now, too, because of fucking Auburn, because Auburn, this was the spot to use them, man. I thought they were in a decent spot, and they just couldn't even fucking score. It's just so ridiculous, man. Kansas extended my Survivor earlier in the day today. That was a good call by me, I think, because they were a huge favorite, and then they just didn't have another Survivor-worthy game left. But Auburn was a double-digit favorite with no other Survivor-worthy games left, so I'm pissed about that, too. That's money gone, losing both of my Survivors now in the last 2 weeks. I'm pissed. But anyway, back to this. Atlanta, they're coming off an embarrassing game, man. I mean, you lose to Miami, you're going to get drilled during the week, and you got to show up with at least focus here. Are they going to be good enough to hang with the Patriots? I think maybe, because when Miami shows up for a game, they can hang with better teams. I mean, the Patriots, yeah, they're on this ridiculous run where they've won 5 games in a row, but the only good win was that really close win at Buffalo. I mean, look at who they beat otherwise. All their other wins this year against Miami, Carolina, New Orleans, Tennessee, and Cleveland. And yeah, I know they blew out Tennessee and Cleveland and Carolina, but that Carolina one was a little bit misleading on the scoreboard. Like, the yardage difference wasn't that much in the game. So I don't know. I still don't know what to think about the Patriots. I mean, I think they're good. Like, they're probably worthy of making the playoffs and whatever. I don't think they're as good as people think they are right now. And, there's all this hype. They're way too hyped right now. There's all this hype around Drake May being third in the running for MVP right now behind Mahomes and Allen, which, by the way, it was Baker Mayfield until the last week or two where he completely fell off because his offense is totally injured. But I also don't think he's really as good as that. May is good. I don't know if he's as good as people are like thinking that he is right now or saying that he is right now. Although the Patriots did pull off 3 straight road wins, even though 2 of them were against bad teams, that does show you something. And they were able to win and cover and beat me in what I thought was a letdown spot coming off the Buffalo win. So a little bit of something to be said about that. They do have Tampa up next. I don't know if that is necessarily a look ahead just because it's like Mayfield versus May. But you could say the same thing about May against Penix because May and Penix, I think, were in the same draft class. So, and May versus Mayfield, that's weird. And that's going to be on Mayfield's field and not May's field. Yeah. But, I mean, that's just maybe a potential look ahead just because it's an MVP race battle between those 2 quarterbacks. So, dude, I really don't know what to think about this game at all, though, to be honest. Patriots are coming off an easy win over Cleveland. I think Atlanta probably is the way to look just because they're in, like, a bounce-back spot from such an embarrassing loss. It looks like Penix is going to play here. But then I'm not sure if that's necessarily a great thing, though. I mean, he's got to be better than Cousins at this point, even though last week I was thinking that maybe there wasn't that much of a drop-off. Cousins just does not look like he's good anymore. His career might be over, which is very unfortunate. So I do think Atlanta is better with Penix there. And they also did not have Drake London last week, so that's also something to keep in mind. Like, they're going to want these players back because London is obviously their best wide receiver. Is he coming back? It looks like he's not listed on the injury report here, so I think he is. Looks like Penix is coming back as well, though I couldn't really get a straight answer there. Yeah, Penix, London, and Mooney are all coming back, so the Falcons are going to be at full strength here. Even though normally I say it's a reverse injured player spot, you know, with your star player coming back, you have to work him back in, whatever, and the team might take their foot off the gas. The team's not going to take their foot. There is no gas. The team's not going to take their foot off the gas and overlook the Patriots after they got embarrassed by Miami last week. So I'll slightly lean to taking the points with the Falcons in this one. 75% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on the Patriots. But do I want to, like, jump in front of this Patriot train right now? Not really, no. So that's not going to be a play. Colts, Steelers. This is kind of an interesting one, man. It just looks way too easy to lay 3 points with the Colts, although it looks like it's headed towards 3.5. The look ahead, I believe, was around 3. It says here it was 2.5. So the line has moved up a little bit. Basically, it's gone through the key number of 3. It looks like it's going to be 3.5, which does mean there's going to be more value on taking that number with the Steelers if you do like that. 81% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on the Colts for now, but that's like such a slim cash percentage, and the Colts are so public that I don't think that's really an indicator that there's actually a lot of money on the Colts. I think probably some actual money is going to come in on the Steelers, especially at 3.5. Indy, I think, is a little bit overhyped right now, even though I know they're my team, although I'm not really a Patriot hater anymore at this point because I don't really hate May. I only hate Josh McDaniels at this point. But Indy, if you look at their schedule, I mean, they don't have really too many good wins. I mean, their good wins are that one where they won on the leverage call against Denver, and then they had a good win on the road at the Chargers, although it was a little bit misleading because the Chargers did outgain them. Other than that, their wins are against Miami, Tennessee, the Raiders, Arizona, and Tennessee again. So Indy's faced a weak schedule so far, man. Although, granted, Pittsburgh, I mean, they're probably not really a great team, but they're probably better than, like, most of it. They're probably better than all of Indy's opponents that I just listed, except for the Chargers and Denver. And they're better, and they're not as good as Pittsburgh's not as good as the Rams, obviously, but Indy lost that game to the Rams. At some point, I do think Indy is going to have some sort of, like, they're going to have some spot where they overlook somebody, man, and maybe it'll be here. Because maybe they're looking ahead because they do have to go to Berlin next week. You knew that was coming at some point. There's always a Berlin game at some point later in the season, and that's Indy and Atlanta, and that's coming up next week. So they might look ahead to that because they're going to have to play this Pittsburgh game, and then they're going to have to travel. So I do think that might be a little bit of a look-ahead spot here. Pittsburgh, everybody saw them look really, really bad against Green Bay last week, although Pittsburgh was actually playing pretty well in that game until basically the fourth quarter, and then everything unraveled. And Aaron Rodgers has been fine. Like, he's not the problem, and he's been pretty decent, especially given his age. The Pittsburgh defense, surprisingly, has been the major problem for Pittsburgh here. So that is kind of a problem when Indy has like a lot of the best offensive metrics in football, and they have the best running back in football, and they have a really balanced offense. But something about this spot, man, I just don't love it. Pittsburgh, I know they're on a slightly short week because they played Sunday night, but they looked so bad on Sunday night. They've actually looked somewhat bad 2 weeks in a row in primetime, arguably because they lost to Cincinnati, although they kind of looked good in that loss because they almost had the win and they scored over 30 points. But everybody saw them look really bad in the fourth quarter against Green Bay. So I would actually probably lean to taking the points with the Steelers in this one. I mean, they're not going to overlook Indy at the very least. We'll see what happens in that one, man. Indy, I think, is probably not quite as good as they look like they are based on their record right now. Everybody's basically kind of anointing them as the best team in football right now. And I think the power ratings basically are kind of telling you otherwise, with the fact that even though the power ratings, like the odds makers are saying, yeah, the Colts are obviously the better team over the Steelers, it's on the road and they're not laying that many points. So slightly into the Steelers for me in that one, but none of these games that I've talked about so far have been strong opinions for me at all. Packers, Panthers, you already know I'm going to have a play in that game. Vikings, Lions is going to be one of my plays as well. We're going to fade a lot of these public sides, man. So we'll skip those for now. We're still in the 1 p.m. slate. We do have Broncos, Texans. This is going to be one where I don't think I'm going to change my opinion. I like the Texans in this one, but they are up from a pick 'em to a 2.5 here. So unfortunately, you lost some of the better numbers here. Although if you do like the Texans, you'll probably still be able to lay them at a number below 3. And of course, 3 is still a more key number than the other numbers there below 3. You can play money line Texans as well if you wanted to. Broncos are very, very public side. 71% of the tickets, only 67% of the cash because their offense has actually looked good recently. Like, they've been putting up a lot of points, so the public likes that. The public doesn't like the Texans, even though the Texans, as I showed you, against San Francisco, even though they didn't put a lot of points on the scoreboard, 26, the Texans' offense actually was really, really good in that game, just from out of nowhere, because the Texans' offense isn't that good, but they did look good in that game against San Francisco, and they were better than it looked on the scoreboard. So this Texans' offense, maybe they're actually coming around a little bit. I think they might be getting some of their injured players back here. Like, they got Christian Kirk back at wide receiver, so there is that. So basically, Dell is the only guy who's still out, and he hasn't been back all season. So they're getting a little bit healthier at the very least. Houston's offenses, I'm not going to say that they're, an offense that's going to light anybody up, but they're not a terrible offense at this point. And their defense is quite good. And yes, they're coming off a win over the 49ers, which is a pretty good win, but it's still an out-of-conference win. 49ers have been kind of mediocre-ish this year, and this is going to be a big game because it's another AFC team coming to their place. Houston's staying at home. So I think the spot does line up a little bit better for Houston here. Denver, they're 6-2. I don't think they're quite as good as that record looks. I mean, if you look at their wins, most of their wins are against unimpressive teams, man. They beat Tennessee, Cincinnati with Jake Browning, Jets in that really ugly game in England, the Giants, where they had to come back. They were down 19-0, of course, and then everybody saw Denver score 33 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Giants. And then Denver last week put 44 up against Dallas, but this Dallas defense is like historically bad, dude. So I don't think Denver's offense is as good as they looked in those last 2 games. I mean, that offensive explosion came from out of nowhere against the Giants, and the Giants' defense was just terrible at the end of that game, and they're not as great of a defense anyway. And Dallas, I mean, like I said, their defense is so bad that everybody lights up that defense. So I don't think Denver's offense is anywhere near as good as they looked. Those last 2 games, they put up 77 points. Yeah, I see them putting up a lot fewer in this one against an actual defense in Houston. And who's the best defense Denver has faced all season? I mean, probably the Chargers. I mean, maybe the Eagles. The Eagles' defense is okay. And they caught the Eagles in like a fairly good spot to catch them. Or I said that I thought Denver would cover that one. So I don't know, man. I think Denver is not quite as good as they look with that 6-2 record. They're just coming off scoring way too many points, man. And they haven't been on the road since like a month ago. The last road game, I know they beat Philadelphia, but it was a bad spot for Philadelphia. That was way back on October 5th. And prior to that, Denver was 0-2 on the road, losing at Indy and at the Chargers, though. I mean, those are 2 good teams. Both those teams are probably better than Houston, but still, I don't like the spot here, man. And Denver does have to turn around and play the Raiders on Thursday. I mean, is that going to be a look ahead? I don't know. It is still a divisional Thursday game that they're going to host. So I wouldn't like totally write that off as potentially being a look ahead. So yeah, I like Houston in this one. I mean, it almost makes my card, Houston. I don't mind it at all. So I'm not going to change my opinion on that one. I like Houston in that one. All right, to finish the 1 p.m. slate, we have Chargers-Titans. This opening number at Chargers +8 was obviously wrong. I think pregame fucked this up. I think it was probably -8 on the Chargers. Now they're -9.5, almost 10. The look ahead here was, I'm assuming 8 is what that number was. 7.5 it says here. So with this number being up to 10, I think you are looking at maybe getting some value on the Titans side here. Do I really want to give out a play on the Titans? Not really. By the way, the look ahead in the game that I just talked about, Broncos were actually a -1.5 favorite on the look ahead there. So now, very strangely, the Texans have now flipped to the favorite there. So, I mean, again, you're not really getting a ton of line value necessarily with the Texans, but it's still kind of in pick the winner territory for that number there. So I would still lean to the Texans there. But back to this game, Chargers-Titans. Chargers are extremely public. 90% of the tickets and 92% of the cash, although I don't buy that the cash is really on the Chargers. And if there is professional money really coming into the Chargers side, I think it's a setup. Like, I think probably maybe some bettors are coming in and just trying to get that number up to 10 because it's so close to 10 just so they can come back and take the 10 on Tennessee. I mean, I really don't want to do it, but if you're forced me to give a lean on this one, I would lean to taking the points with Tennessee, taking the 10 or whatever. I mean, everybody saw the Chargers look great on Thursday night, crushing Minnesota, but Carson Wentz was playing injured in that game, so there wasn't really much Minnesota could do, and I gave out the Chargers as a play. As you guys might remember, it was an easy win on the Chargers. I thought it was a good spot for the Chargers in that one, a home game on Thursday night. Weird spot for Minnesota. So the Chargers, they obviously got the job done. Everybody thinks they looked really good again in that game. Now they got to go to Tennessee. I mean, again, I don't think it's that great of a spot. And by the way, the Chargers, they played 3 road games this year, and they have not they covered the spread once, my mistake. They won by 11 against Vegas. But their last 2 road games, they lost on the road to the Giants, and they almost lost to Miami, only beating them by 2. So they have not been quite as good on the road. I know it's Tennessee, and I know how miserable Tennessee has been. They're probably the worst team in football, but I mean, I think they can hang within this number. Man, the Chargers are not really a team that really blows a lot of opponents out. With Jim Harbaugh, they tend to kind of slow the pace down a bit still, even though he is unleashing Herbert a bit more this year than he was before. But even so, they're not really that type of team that does a lot of that. That they don't run like a fast-paced offense is what I mean to say. I'm brain farting here right now. And after this, they do have to play Pittsburgh, which you could argue maybe they're going to look ahead to that and maybe just kind of overlook Tennessee generally just because Tennessee is so bad. Tennessee, they lost again last week, of course, by double digits to Indianapolis. I thought they might be able to hang within that number. Tennessee is really just, they've been awful. They haven't been able to cover against anybody, I don't think, except for the Arizona game. I think Tennessee has failed to cover every game besides Arizona. I think maybe they actually covered by a half point or something in week 1 against Denver. So, yeah, I mean, that means Tennessee is not covered at home at all. But, I mean, at some point, I think they're going to. So I do think there's line value here. I mean, the odds makers know how bad Tennessee is, and they have to keep, like, moving the number up and up and up against Tennessee. So, I don't know. With the Chargers team that doesn't really light up the scoreboard, I would probably take the points with Tennessee, but I don't want to play it. Going to the 4 p.m. slate, we have Jaguars, Raiders. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, teams coming off of buys as well. So last week we had a bunch of teams on bye, and I don't think I've talked about any of them yet. The teams coming out of the buys are Detroit, Vegas, Rams, Arizona, Seattle, and Jacksonville. So I don't think I've talked about any of them yet, but 2 of them are in this game I'm about to talk about, Jacksonville and Vegas here. All right, and a few of them are going to be in games that I'm going to have plays in as well. All right, Jacksonville and Vegas at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Oh, and I forgot to mention the teams on bye this week are Cleveland, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Buccaneers, just to throw that out there. Those teams are not playing this week. So we have 14 games this week instead of 13 like we had last week. The Jags are down from a 3-point favorite to a 2-point favorite here at Vegas. Their public was 72% of the tickets on them. The public just wants nothing to do with the Raiders. I mean, it's not really that the public loves the Jags, but they don't love the Raiders. They just hate the Raiders, basically. 53% of the cash coming in on the Raiders. I mean, at some point, I just don't think the Raiders can continue to be this bad. I mean, they have decent talent, like Geno Smith, Ashton Genty. I mean, they're not horrible personnel-wise. They have Pete Carroll is a coach who at least, I mean, he's had success in the past, obviously. Both of these teams are coming off of byes. They both actually went into the bye on embarrassing notes. Jacksonville's coming all the way back from London, although, of course, they have an extra week to do that, so I don't think that's going to be that much of a factor. Jacksonville went into the bye in a 2-game loss streak, including getting embarrassed in London. As the de facto London team, Jacksonville as well, the Jaguars got just totally embarrassed. Even though they're used to playing out there, which I thought meant that Jacksonville would show up in that game. They lost 35-7 to the Raiders. So this is a good time for Jacksonville to have this bye. So teams, when they go into the bye on a bad note like that, they usually focus, come out of that, and tend to play well. They are going to Vegas, although the last time they played in the Pacific time zone, they did actually win against the San Francisco 49ers. So it's not all bad for Jacksonville. I mean, there's some positives here. The question is, are they going to overlook the Raiders? Because Jacksonville does have a divisional game up next against Houston, so maybe they will look ahead to that a little bit because that's going to be more of a divisional battle than maybe people thought. People thought Houston was going to win the division, so I don't know. The Raiders, I mean, they also went into the bye on a really bad note. I mean, they got shut out by the Chiefs. I know it's the Chiefs, but the Raiders were just horrific in that game. Geno Smith had 67 yards of offense. Did they take him out of the game? I don't even know. What the hell was that? They got shut out 31-0 by the Chiefs. Yeah, they took him out. I guess they put Kenny Pickett in for a little while. I don't know, man. This is just bad for the Raiders. But that was so bad that, again, I think just like Jacksonville, I think they went into the bye on such an embarrassing note that they're going to use that bye to fix some things. So the Raiders are coming out of this. They got to face Jacksonville, though they also have a potential look ahead as well. The Raiders do, because they have to turn around and go to Denver on Thursday. So these teams are both in very similar spots. So I don't want to have anything to do with this game, man. I mean, both teams are almost in, you could argue these teams are almost in exactly the same spot. So then, like, everything almost kind of cancels out as far as that's concerned. So then I guess you do have to agree with the market in this one. I will agree with taking the points with the Raiders in this game, but man, I don't like it. The spot is just so crazy similar for those two teams. Debatably a little bit worse for the Raiders, I guess, because their look-ahead spot potentially is bigger because it's Denver and it's on Thursday. But I think Jacksonville could potentially overlook the Raiders here, too. New Orleans and Rams is going to be one of my plays. Please help me. So I'm going to skip that one for now. That is the next one up on the board as well, and not just on the ESPN schedule here. Then we get into the primetime games and the big game of the week, which is not a primetime game. Chiefs-Bills. Interestingly, this did not get flexed to one of the primetime games. This is going to be an interesting game, obviously. Two of the top teams in the AFC are going to go at it here, and the odds makers are telling you the Chiefs are the better team because they're a 1-point favorite on the road here. By the way, just because I feel like I have to call it the look-aheads in all these games, the Jags are a -3 on the look-ahead, so their number hasn't really moved. If you like the Raiders, you want to try to get a 3 if you can, though. I don't know if you're going to be able to. Kansas City and Buffalo. The look-ahead in this game was the Chiefs -1.5, and that's still right where it is. Public is somewhat on Buffalo at 66% of the tickets, but 67% of the cash also coming in on the Bills, and it kind of surprises me that the public would be on the Bills to the extent that it looks like they kind of are there, even though it looks like the money is also coming in on the Bills a little bit, because Kansas City's just been lighting it up recently, man. So why would the public be on the Bills right now? Because I know the Bills had a good game last week, but do you think the public is really going to give the Bills credit for one blowout win over Carolina after the Bills looked really bad the prior couple of weeks versus Kansas City, who's just been really lighting it up and has won 5 of 6 games, and they just looked really good on primetime and Monday night against Washington. Although I know it was Washington without Jaden Daniels. I thought Washington would play better than they did. They did not. So I'm kind of surprised to see the public on Buffalo even as much as they are. Kansas City, I mean, both teams are going to show up for this, obviously. But Kansas City's on a short week because they played on Monday. They looked good on primetime. So usually you don't want to play the team that looked good on primetime. And they do have a bye, and they do have Denver coming up next after the bye. I'm not going to say that Kansas City is going to overlook Buffalo, though. Like, I highly doubt that. But I think this game matters more to Buffalo because, of course, you remember what happened last year. It seems like it happens every year. Buffalo had their season ended by the Chiefs at Arrowhead. And the year before that, I think it was at Buffalo when it happened. The Bills, I mean, they have playoff revenge, man. So you know the Bills have had this game circled all season because the Chiefs are the team that ended their season. So I think the Bills do actually have a little bit more motivation here. They haven't looked that good. They went into the bye on that bad note because they lost to New England, which was a game they could have won if a couple of plays went differently. And then they lost at Atlanta in what I thought was a bad spot on Monday night. They came out of the bye, and they looked like they fixed some things in that bye because they just destroyed Carolina coming out of that bye. So I think Buffalo, that's actually good for them to just get some momentum. They're not going to be overconfident after beating a team like Carolina. And again, you know, Buffalo has this game circled, absolutely. So I think this is a spot where Buffalo is the right side. So I slightly lean to Buffalo in this one. I don't know if I'm going to change my opinion on that one at all. It'll be interesting to see how the market shapes up in that one. And, of course, this is a game with one of the highest totals of the week at 52.5, up from 51.5. 51 is the key number. So if you like the over here, you're missing out on that key number there. Although it was already 51.5, so I guess you couldn't really get over the key number of 51. 87% of the tickets, 86% of the cash on the over, though. So the money looks like it's slightly disagreeing with the over there. I mean, I could see it being kind of a playoff atmosphere and maybe winding up being a lower scoring game. Chiefs do have a good defense. I don't really want to deal with it, though. The other thing the Chiefs do have going for them is, though, that the Chiefs do have the better defense in this matchup. So there is that. Going for the Chiefs here. Not a whole lot else to say about that, though. I think the playoff revenge motivation is pretty big in that one, though. Have I met the public? Yes. I mean, yeah, the public are like the talking heads that you see on TV. I mean, I haven't met those people, but like if you talk to people, if you go out and about and you talk to people, you can get a good gauge on what the public thinks. I think I have a very good gauge on what the public thinks. So, yeah, I mean, this one still surprised me. Because, like, dude, the Chiefs, I mean, they've made the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, and their offense actually looks way better this year than it has looked in those past couple of seasons. So, I still don't, yeah, I mean, if you look at what we just saw, I still don't see why the public would be on Buffalo here. By the way, one other thing I will point out is Buffalo has had a way easier schedule than Kansas City. I mean, since Buffalo beat Baltimore in that game that they probably should have lost. Baltimore. That was when Baltimore was at full strength, though, and Baltimore at full strength is one of the best teams in the NFL. Buffalo probably should have lost that game. They were down 15 late in the game. Since then, they beat the Jets, Miami, the Saints, and Carolina. So they've beaten some very bad teams since then. So that is one other thing that maybe you could knock Buffalo for. I mean, they could have beaten New England. And then they did lose to Atlanta in a bad spot. So I'm not about to say that Buffalo's bad or anything like that. The Chiefs, I mean, they do have some stronger wins, obviously. They did beat Baltimore, although Lamar Jackson went down in that game. And then, of course, most notably, they beat Detroit. So that was a very good win. Washington is an okay win. So, yeah, all that, to take into account, I guess. And then I just had one other thought come to mind that I'd completely forgotten about, and now I just completely forgot what I was going to say. What the hell was I just about to say? Shit, man. Man, I was just about to say something else, and I completely forgot. It was one of the things. I thought of one other thing that was actually in favor of the Bills, and I can't remember what it was now. Shit. Now that's going to bug me, because it was something I wanted to get out there that was like, oh, yes. Kansas City's not good on the road. That's what I was going to say. They're 1-2 on the road, and Buffalo's 3-1 at home. So just another little thing to keep in mind. Buffalo does have some home field advantage there. Yeah, oh yeah, obviously the public is dumb. Yeah, so one of the reasons why I want to fade them generally. Yeah. I thought you meant that you thought that the public would actually be on Buffalo in this one, which yeah, I mean it seems like they kind of are, but yeah, I mean I thought you just meant that you were surprised that I was surprised by that. All right, the Sunday night game is Seahawks and Redskins, which seems like one of those old playoff games with RG3 out there or something for the Redskins or something. The Seahawks are up from a 2.5-point favorite to a 3-point favorite. Man, have the Redskins fallen since last year. Yeah, I mean, I said that they would. I mean, in my NFL team totals preview or whatever, this is the one that I was that I'm looking the most correct about. I said Washington under 9.5 wins on the season, and right now they're 3-5 or something. So I thought they would definitely take a bit of a step back. Daniels, sophomore slump because the league is figuring him out and whatever. Speaking of which, Jaden Daniels is coming back in this game, so I'm going to talk about that as part of this handicap. Seahawks are public, 65% of the tickets, only 62% of the cash. So the public is willing to come out and lay the points of the Seahawks here. So the public is off the Washington train at this point. But Jaden Daniels hasn't played in a couple of weeks, I think. So Washington, I think he got hurt in the Dallas game, I think. So he missed about half of that game, and they didn't play on Monday night. Mariota played, and their offense was really bad against Kansas City. So people saw that. So I think that's also part of the reason why everybody's off of Washington here. I mean, it's the fact that they've lost 3 games in a row as well, but we just saw them in primetime only put up 7 points. So that's the type of team the public is going to be off of. And even though it's a short week, I actually think that the team that does really bad on Monday night like that and looks really bad in front of a lot of public eyes, you tend to actually find value with that team. And they are a home underdog here, so I think there may be some value in the line looking towards Washington here off that embarrassing loss. Yes, Jaden Daniels is coming back, so normally I would say, yeah, reverse player spot here, just like I was saying with Michael Penix. But the thing is, just like with Atlanta, Washington's coming off a bad game, so I don't think it's a reverse injured player spot where like the team was good enough, like without the starter, that they're gonna like take their foot off the gas or whatever when their starter comes back. No, and like it's gonna be an upgrade from Mariota to Jaden Daniels. I don't think it's as much of an upgrade as the odds makers were saying that it was in that Kansas City game where they shifted the line by about 6 points. I don't think there's that much of a difference there, but there's some difference. I think Washington's probably about 3 points better, or somewhere around there, with Jaden Daniels back. So he will be back, and I think it's a spot where the reverse injured player theory is not going to be the thing that you want to look at here because, again, they haven't won for weeks now, so I don't think they're going to overlook Seattle here. And Seattle's been good, although the one thing to take into account is Seattle is actually good on the road so far. Although their road wins are against Pittsburgh, Arizona, and Jacksonville. So, I mean, how good are those 3 teams? I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue a couple of those teams are kind of right in line with Washington in mediocrity. Seattle went into a bye last week, so they do have rest here, but they went into the bye on a good note. They went into the bye on 2 straight wins, the win over Jacksonville. They caught Jacksonville in a bad spot, remember, though. Jacksonville was coming off that big win over Kansas City, so something to take into account there, that they did catch Jacksonville at a good time to catch them. And then Seattle, people saw Seattle win, I think, on a Monday night game. They beat Houston. So the last time the public saw them, they saw them beating Houston on Monday night. Pretty good win for Seattle there, but they went into the bye on a good note, winning their last 2 games, winning 5 of 6. So I think the bye came at a bad time for Seattle because when you're rolling like that, you don't want to have your bye, man. You want to keep rolling. You want to keep your momentum going. So I think it is a bad spot coming out of that bye. It's a Sunday night game that Seattle's not hosting it. Washington is. Sunday night game, though, so I don't think they're really going to overlook it as far as, like, looking ahead to Arizona here, because Arizona will be their next opponent, which is a divisional game at the very least, although they did already beat Arizona once. Seattle did actually play well going to the Eastern time zone the last other couple of games. Pittsburgh, I believe, was one of those, and then Jacksonville. So they actually did win both of those games. And, yeah, as I already pointed out, they're 3-0 on the road, but those teams were all kind of mediocre. But still, they've been a good road team, road warriors. So I don't want to do anything with this game. I'm going to slightly lean to taking the points with Washington and fading the public here, given all those different factors that are coming into play here. I think the bye coming at a bad time for Seattle, plus Washington looking bad on Monday night, I think those are kind of the 2 factors that are kind of deciding it for me. That and the fact that the fact that the money looks like it is coming in on the more of the money's coming in on the Washington side as well. So, yeah, like fading the public slightly in that one. So, sorry I'm brain farting so much. It's late. I've gotten no sleep. You know, I was up late for my college football show that turned out not to be good. But we only have one more game here before I then talk about my plays. So, it'll be about an hour on this video. That's fairly efficient. It's efficient for me, at least. And the look ahead in that game was kind of right near where the number is at Seahawks -2.5. Of course, if you want Washington, you should be able to find a +3. And if you don't see it now, I assume it'll show up at some point before the game kicks off. Monday night, which I always talk about it again on Monday morning, the Monday night game, but Arizona at Dallas. This is kind of a weird one, man. The look ahead on this one was the Cowboys -3, and I believe that's basically still where the number is. Yeah, they're sitting around 3 with juice, kind of a little bit down from 3.5. 74% of tickets, 85% of the cash coming in on the Cowboys as it stands right now. So the money kind of coming in on the Cowboys. Not sure that I agree with it, though. I've heard some professional opinions on Arizona in this game. You've been up since 7. I got up at 8:30 or so because I had to get ready for the morning show. I should get paid for it, man. Paid more than I do through the monetization on audio, which doesn't do me anything, really. Although if I get those numbers up, it will actually do me something. Arizona's coming out of a bye. So they're another one of those teams coming out of a bye here. And they went into the bye on a really bad note. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to go to the bye on a worse note than they did, losing 5 games in a row, even though they played pretty well in their last couple of games, covering against Indianapolis and Green Bay. So they actually played fairly well with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback. And by the way, I think he's actually going to play in this game. Kyler Murray is questionable. But to me, what I saw on ESPN, I saw that that Brissett, I think I saw that they decided that Brissett is playing again. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, I actually prefer it if Brissett is playing here because he's actually been better than Kyler Murray. I mean, he put up better passing totals in his 2 games. And, again, they covered against, like, teams that are good this year in the Colts and Green Bay. So I think the Cardinals are better with Brissett out there. And he's at least a veteran. His thing is that he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Kyler Murray, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, he might be done. So if Kyler Murray comes back, I don't like Arizona anywhere nearly as much as I would with Brissett continuing to play. I think that they had a bye at a good time, though, when they were losing all their games. So I think they're going to use that bye to fix some things. Maybe Brissett, if he's going to still be out there, will learn more about the offense because he's only played 2 games with them so far. But again, he was good in those games, so I don't think there's any real concern with him being out there. If Murray comes back, though, it's going to be the reverse injured player spot, right? So, like, there's going to be a potential chemistry issue with the team. Like, Murray has to get back up to speed and whatever. So I really don't like that at all. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. They do have a look ahead to playing Seattle potentially. I guess you could argue that's a look ahead. But are they going to overlook Dallas on a Monday night game? Probably not. Even though Dallas is a little bit down. You're not going to overlook anybody when you've lost 5 games in a row anyway. So even though, yes, it's a revenge game against Seattle coming up after this and a revenge game against San Francisco after that, I don't think they're going to overlook Dallas. Dallas is coming off an embarrassing loss, of course, in Denver. Just embarrassing because they gave up 44 points, losing by a lot. But I think the spot's a little bit better for Arizona because they're coming out of the bye, man. Dallas, they've done a lot of traveling recently. They had to go to the Jets, Carolinas. They played back-to-back road games on the East Coast. And this is with no buys in between any of these. They came back to Dallas, beat Washington in a big divisional win. Jaden Daniels went down in that game. Then they had to go to Denver into elevation. Now they're coming back home again. Yes, it is a home game. Yes, you could argue it's a bounce-back spot because it was an embarrassing loss in Denver. So I do think both teams are going to be focused, but Arizona, again, I think because of the bye, I think it's a little bit of a better spot for them. You're going to be fading the public, at least if you take the Cardinals here. We'll see how the market really shapes up on this. And the Cardinals are actually the better defense because I think the Cowboys may actually be the absolute worst defense in football. So with the Cardinals, even though I don't think their defense is spectacular, you're actually getting the better defense getting points. And this is the highest total of the week, by the way, at 53.5 in this game. 89% of the tickets and 94% of the cash on the over. The money coming in on the over. I mean, usually the over is a very public side in these Monday night games. You tend to have to pay for a little bit of a worse number there because obviously the odds makers know everybody comes in on the over, so they have to skew the number a little bit higher. So you're usually not getting value on it, but I don't think I would want an under in any game that the Cowboys play ever. So yeah, I mean, I would probably lean to an over in that game as well. Even though an under actually probably is slightly correlated to the Cardinals because you need them to play slightly decent defense to get that done. If I post my winning tickets, would it drive views up? Maybe. Sometimes I post them on Twitter, although right now I'm not actually betting these games anymore, which I have to just do it again. I have to get back to doing it. I haven't been doing it since I got fired. I've been giving out all my plays as if I were betting them, but I've only actually bet a small handful of them since then because most of my money's not liquid still because it's all in fucking CDs and shit. So very, very bad situation for me right now. Maybe I should do it and start doing it professionally with the way that I've been running until the last couple of days, running really hot. Let's go to the best bets. I know I keep forgetting to put the breakdown graphic up there, but there it is. Let's go to best bets. I told you they're going to be ugly, and you probably know what they are already, but I actually like the situation in all of these. I like the fade of the teams that we're fading here, and I think we're actually getting sandwich spots in all of these. The first one up is indeed going to be the one that you already know about. That's the first one up on the board, so that works out well. Carolina Panthers plus 13. I don't think you're going to be able to get 14 on this, but we're going to fade the Packers here. The Packers are certainly going to be a public side. 86% of the tickets. They have 92% of the cash right now, but I think the actual cash is going to come in on the Panthers here. I did not see a 14, but this is up from an opener of 10.5, or 10.5 was the look ahead. So basically just based on what we saw last week, we saw the Panthers get annihilated, and the Packers had that really big win in primetime. That skewed the line 3 more points, basically. So I think the odds makers have just adjusted that line way too far based on 1 week's results. So you're getting extra value here. Will it hit the 14? I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen it all week. I said that it might hit the 14. Obviously, that's a key number. It's the 2 touchdowns, but I'll do this anyway at 13, 13.5, whatever. It's a low total in this one, up from 43.5 to 44, but the money coming in on the under, so at least you're taking points with a low total as well, which is a good sign as well. When you're getting double-digit points, and it's expected to be somewhat of a lower-scoring game because the Packers actually play decent defense, but this is definitely going to be a fade of the Packers, man. This Packers spot, I think it's a major sandwich spot. I mean, again, we just saw them on Sunday night beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Aaron Rodgers Bowl. That was a big game for both teams, man. I think personally for Jordan Love, because he got to finally face off against his mentor, I guess, or the guy that his predecessor in Aaron Rodgers. So everybody was talking about how it was a big game for Aaron Rodgers facing Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers actually had a chance to get a win against all 32 teams in the NFL, and now he might never get that because Aaron Rodgers during his career has beaten every team except Green Bay, just because that was the first time he ever faced Green Bay. He didn't get it done, but that was another reason to like Green Bay in that game, by the way, because everybody was just talking about Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be Aaron Rodgers against Green Bay. Nobody was talking about how it was going to be Jordan Love against Aaron Rodgers. So I think Jordan Love maybe played with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He had a really good game in that game. I think it was his best game of the season. Yeah, 360 yards. Really took off in the fourth quarter. They were great at the end of that game. Everybody saw that. Jordan Love beat Aaron Rodgers in the game. So I think it's going to be a letdown for him and for the Packers coming off that game. They get to play lowly Carolina. And then who do the Packers play after this? Oh, yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. And the Philadelphia Eagles are the team that eliminated the Packers from the playoffs last year. So this is a playoff revenge game coming up for Green Bay against Philadelphia. You know they've had this game circled all season because Philadelphia was the team that knocked them out last year And that's a Monday night game. So Green Bay has this Carolina game sandwiched in between two primetime games. So it's a primetime sandwich, man. It's a prime rib sandwich here, which sounds like a pretty delicious sandwich to me, man. So this is a terrible spot. And by the way, Green Bay, when they've been a big favorite like this, the 2 games prior to the game against Pittsburgh, they didn't cover against Cincinnati or Arizona. They failed to cover both of those, even though they won both. Actually, when Green Bay's been a big favorite, when they've been a favorite of 6.5 or more, they've failed to cover all 4 of them. That was the case with Cleveland, Dallas, Cincinnati, and Arizona. So the prior 4 games to the Pittsburgh one, Green Bay was favored by 6.5 or more in all 4, and they failed to cover every single one of those. So Green Bay has not covered one of these big numbers all season. Yes, I know 3 of those games were on the road. Cleveland was one that I gave out back in the day. That was one of my wins that week. That was a good week for me that week. And it was a bad spot for Green Bay in that one, but still, Green Bay, they have not been this like covering machine that's just lighting these teams up. So I think one of their highest point totals was last week, right? Maybe that was their highest point total besides the tie against Dallas, but everybody scores a shit ton against Dallas. Yeah, besides the game against Dallas, Green Bay had not scored 30 against any other team this entire season. So Green Bay doesn't score a ton of points usually. And for Carolina, we know. They just got absolutely embarrassed by Buffalo 40-9 last week. And Carolina's actually still a 4-4 team. I know they haven't been good on the road, where I think they're only 1-3, but still, you get embarrassed 40-9, you know you're going to be focused on your next opponent, man. And it was a little bit worse than it looked, even though, yeah, Buffalo did outgain them. They did pretty much dominate them in the game, but Carolina also had 3 turnovers in the game, which made it worse. They were -3 in turnovers, so Carolina's not quite as bad as maybe that makes them look. You do have to worry about the quarterback situation, though, because Andy Dalton was not good when he played, which I think was last week, right? Was that Dalton last week? It was. So, I mean, is the Dalton experiment over? I actually hope that it is. I think that it is. It looks like Bryce Young is probably going to play. Dalton's also questionable. So I think Bryce Young is better than Dalton at this point. I don't think it's going to be a reverse injured player spot again, just like I said with the other quarterbacks returning. Interestingly enough, I actually like all of the teams with the quarterbacks returning this week. I don't think that ever happens, but I like them all, and 2 of them are going to be plays for me, including this one. Again, when you get embarrassed like that in your last game, even though you have your starting quarterback coming back, you're not going to, take it easy. You know what I mean? That last game was embarrassing, and you get to face the Green Bay. So Carolina plus the points. It's an ugly sandwich, yeah. I mean, the team that we're on is ugly, but it sounds like a delicious sandwich to me. Hot sauce. Do you put hot sauce on a prime rib sandwich? I don't know. I think usually the prime rib usually puts some juice on it, right? I hate how people call the French dip I hate how people call the sauce or the juice the au jus, by the way, because I took French, so I'm a French guy. You know, I have a grandfather who's from Montreal and whatever. I know, so I know I'm partially French-Canadian. Oh, God. But au jus means, of the juice, basically. So I'm like, why don't you just call it jus? Jus is juice. Au jus is a prepositional phrase. It always pisses me off. Jus is the noun. That's just jus that you're dipping it in. We're going to get this nuke because it sounds like I'm saying Jew and not Jew. Oh, God. All right. But, yeah, second play up. Let's get this done in an hour. We're not going to get it done in an hour, but a little bit over an hour. The next game up is also a game where a team has their quarterback returning. Doesn't get much uglier than this, baby. Minnesota Vikings +9. Yeah, I mean, you're going to hate me for these. They're playing the Lions. The Lions are up for a 7.5-point favorite to a 9.5-point favorite here. The look ahead on this was that 7.5, so you're getting a little bit of extra value on the number at least because basically the numbers moved based on what these teams did last week, and I guess because J.J. McCarthy is coming back for the Vikings. But at this point, do you really think J.J. McCarthy, even though he has looked bad, and I was saying that he was probably worse than Wentz, but at this point, Wentz, the way that he looked last week, he was so injured. Do you really think that McCarthy is a downgrade from a Wentz that can't even move, like what we saw last week against the Chargers? I don't think so. J.J. McCarthy, at least I think, is healthy. This game does not have that high of a total, by the way, at 48. I mean, it's slightly high for an NFL game, but it's not ridiculously high. You're getting a lot of points here, so that's good. The Lions are a hugely public side. 92% of the tickets, and 96% of the cash for now, but I don't think it's going to wind up being that way, man. I will also say that maybe part of the reason why the line moved to 9.5 is because it's a teaser killer. So I think the books know that a lot of these people are coming in on Stanford Wong teasers, which are the only teasers that actually are advantageous as long as you get them at minus 125 or cheaper, I believe. At 7.5 or at anywhere between 7.5 and 8.5, it's a Wong teaser because you can take the lines down from above the 7 down to below the 3, so you get through both those key numbers. So I think another part of the reason why the line did move to 9.5 is to kill teasers, which I also think is part of the reason why the Chargers are up to 9.5, because those are going to be popular teaser choices. So that's also part of the reason why the numbers moved there. But if you're just looking at the side, you're getting a little bit extra value at the very least. And we'll see. I kind of expect that the cash percentage is going to shift in these two games that I've talked about here. But let's look at why we're doing this here. Besides the fact that McCarthy is coming back, which I think is going to be an upgrade. And we thought it might actually be, they have some rookie quarterback, Max Brosmer. We thought it actually might be him. Carson Wentz has gone on the IR. Brosmer, I think, finished the game against the Chargers, but we don't really know. I don't think it really matters. We don't really know what Brosmer is. He played at Minnesota. I think he is a rookie this year. He's played in a few games this year, actually, when the games got out of hand, and he hasn't been great. I don't know what we would expect out of him, but I don't think we have to worry about that because it will be J.J. McCarthy here. Again, I think that's at least an upgrade over a severely injured Wentz. And the other good thing about this is they get a little bit of extra time off because they played on Thursday. So J.J. McCarthy can use a little bit of that extra time to get back into the swing of things here. And they got embarrassed in primetime, man. So that was the other thing. Everybody kind of saw that game on Thursday night. Minnesota just looked so bad in that game, getting annihilated by the Chargers. Minnesota, yeah, they've lost their last two games, although it was to Philadelphia and the Chargers. Those are also pretty solid teams. So something to keep in mind. I mean, maybe Minnesota's not quite as bad as their below 500 record looks right now. And you know they're going to be focused on Detroit because this is basically a revenge game because you remember the division, the NFC North division last year came down to the final game of the season, and whoever won that game was going to win the division. And Sam Darnold completely shit the bed in that game. Detroit, I believe, won like 31-9 or something like that against Minnesota, and that was at Detroit. So this is the return to the scene of the crime. This is going to be a revenge spot for Minnesota, man. And Minnesota, I believe, lost both games to Detroit last year. I think Detroit beat them by like 2 or something in Minnesota last year too. But that was such an embarrassing and somewhat monumental loss at the end of the season there to Detroit. Although I was saying that Minnesota was overrated that whole time, and I did not expect Minnesota to do anything in the playoffs. Even if they did not wind up being a wild card, I still don't think they would have done anything in the playoffs. I faded them immediately in the playoffs, and Darnold, I almost said Sam Bradford. I'll give Darnold a little bit more credit than Sam Bradford, but Darnold, he choked under the pressure in both those games, but he's not there anymore. I still think this is going to be a big revenge spot for Minnesota. I think they're going to have this game circled. I think the game means more to them than it does to Detroit. Detroit has beaten Minnesota, I think, a bunch of times in a row, too. But, of course, we don't even need Minnesota to win the game here, obviously. We need them to just keep it close. Yes, Detroit is good, for sure. But I think Detroit's in a bit of a bad spot here, man, because they're coming out of a bye. And yes, you could argue, well, they're going to have an extra time to prepare for this. Yeah, okay, but they went into the bye on a pretty good note, man. They beat Tampa Bay on Monday night going into the bye, and everybody saw that game. Detroit shut Tampa out, man. Like, going into that game, Baker Mayfield, like I said, he had the third best MVP odds. Tampa Bay was like the hype, man. So everybody's going to put, I think, a lot of weight into that win. Detroit beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, the public likes Tampa Bay because they keep winning, although I don't think Tampa Bay is that good because they keep winning one-score games that they could easily lose. But it was still a win that, Detroit's going to put weight in that win. They've won whatever this is, 5 of their last 6 games as well. Not the best spot that you go into the bye on, I wouldn't say. And yes, even though I know this is a divisional game, I think they might overlook Minnesota here, man, just because Detroit has had Minnesota's number for a while now. They're coming out of the bye. It might stop their momentum a little bit. Oh, and by the way, this is what sealed it for me. Who does Detroit play next week? Oh, yeah. They play Washington. Washington being the team that knocked Detroit out of the playoffs last year in that pretty embarrassing upset where Detroit was, I think, the 1 seed in the NFC, if I'm not mistaken, because they got that 1 seed by beating Minnesota. And Detroit were whatever they were. I think they were a pretty big favorite at home against Washington. You guys remember Detroit made a bunch of mistakes in that game, and Washington knocked them out of the playoffs. So you got to think Detroit has that game circled, man. That is a big game, big revenge game. It's one of the only types of revenge that matters, playoff revenge. Absolutely, Detroit's going to remember that. So I don't like how the spot sets up here. Minnesota plus the points. Pray that J.J. McCarthy can help us keep this game close, man. Yes. Or Just. Everybody abbreviates Just to Just. All right, and finally, this might be the ugliest one of them all. We're going to also go with the New Orleans Saints plus 14. You can get them at a 2-touchdown underdog, man. New Orleans, the last time they were this big of an underdog, I think they covered against Buffalo in Buffalo. So this New Orleans team, they're at least putting up some fight. I mean, they're showing some fight. I know I keep saying that, and they mostly keep failing to cover, but still, this is against the LA Rams. I think you can easily get 14 on this. The look ahead was 12, so you're getting a little bit extra value onto a key number of 14 too. So the 2 touchdowns, it's a key number there. So you get a little bit extra value here. And I think it's all basically just based on last week. The Rams are also exceedingly public. So we're fading some extreme public sides here, which I like to do. 89% of the tickets on the Rams, 91% of the cash for now. I don't think it'll continue to work out that way. And a low total here too. The total's down from 45.5 to 44. So taking a ton of points like this in a game with a low total, I like that idea. 71% of the tickets are on the over, but 62% of the cash on the under. So the money's kind of coming in on the under, expecting this to be an under type of game. So I like that as far as our chances to get this cover here. As far as New Orleans is concerned, again, they have played competitively in some of these games. I mean, they lost by 1 score to Arizona, San Francisco, New England, and then, they lost by double digits to Chicago, Tampa Bay, and Seattle. The Seattle game was a little bit misleading, though. I mean, the stats were a lot closer than that game was. And then they covered against Buffalo. That was the game where they were a double-digit road underdog. They lost by 12, and they covered. So that was the only time they were an underdog of this magnitude. Yes, they're on a 3-game losing streak. But I think after that last game, I think we're going to see something from New Orleans here, man. Because that last game, they were not good. They only scored 3 points against Tampa Bay, man. And when that happens, I think you're going to see a focused team. It's almost like getting shut out when you only score 3 points. I think you're going to see New Orleans show up with a little bit more to prove here. And they are shaking something up here, man. They're going to Tyler Shaw, their draft pick from, I think, last year. He's going to be the guy now. So they're going away from Spencer Rattler. I mean, Rattler's been okay-ish, I guess, in not making mistakes and whatever. But they drafted Shaw for a reason, man. They think that he's a guy that can actually kind of do something offensively and isn't just a game manager. Shaw did play a little bit last week. The game was already out of hand. He was mediocre when he came in, but he at least got a decent amount of reps. He played for like half of the quarterback reps last week, so he's not coming into this game completely cold. And I think that actually isn't that bad for New Orleans because I don't think it's that much of a downgrade from Rattler. And the opposing defense isn't going to have a whole lot of game film. Like, the only game film you're going to have on Shaw is whatever he did last week. So it's going to be hard to game plan for that, man, at the very least. If you're the Rams, you just won't know what New Orleans offense is really going to do against you. So I like this, man. Yeah, Kamara's questionable, but whatever, I guess. I mean, running backs are kind of plug and play at this point, although he is one of the better running backs still. He's just on a really bad team. But Yeah, I mean, I like how it shapes up for New Orleans. I think they're going to continue to show up and try to get wins, even though, yeah, they did get one win already. But I think they'll show up for a game against a good team like the Rams. And the Rams, more importantly, I think the Rams might not show up. The Rams are coming out of a bye. Like I said, they went to England, and everybody saw that isolated game. They beat Jacksonville. And the week before that, they beat Baltimore on the road, although, of course, that was Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. So not as great of a win as it looks, especially because the Rams only put up 17 points in that game against a Baltimore defense that had been struggling. So what are we gonna get out of the Rams here, man? I don't know. I mean, they've played a decently difficult schedule so far, but they went into the bye winning 2 games in a row. So I don't think the bye came at a positive spot. I think the bye came at a spot where it's going to halt their momentum. And it looked like their offensive momentum was slowing down a little bit because Stafford actually did not put up many yards in those last 2 games, even though they did win the last 2 games. I mean, I guess you could argue because they were running the football a lot because they had big leads, but Stafford took a little bit of a step back in those last couple of games. I think the bye is going to stop their momentum a little bit. And after they face New Orleans, who do they play next? Oh, yeah, they got to play San Francisco, who, by the way, was one of the only 2 teams that beat the Rams in the Rams' own house. San Francisco beat them on that Thursday night a few weeks ago, so you got to believe the Rams have that game circled. I think they might look right past New Orleans and be focused on this 49ers revenge game that they're going to have there against the 49ers. And then they also have Seattle up after that, so another divisional game after that. And then Tampa Bay, who's been playing well. So to me, this looks like a sandwich spot. So I think we have 3 sandwich spots here. We're going with all 3. That's what we're going to do, and that's going to do it. I don't want to say hopefully you guys like these plays because I don't expect you to like them, but this is where my handicapping leads, man. My situational stuff. We have 3 big underdogs here. Let's get some wins on these, man. Once again, ugly stuff. Carolina Panthers plus the 13. I don't think you're going to be able to get 14 on it, but I mean, you can wait around and just see what happens with the number for a little while, but I don't think it's going to happen. Minnesota plus 9. Doubt that thing gets to 10. I mean, 10 is a key number. The only reason it's on the 9.5 is to kill the teasers, I think. So I think that's the best you'll do, but we'll do that. And then New Orleans, you can get the 2 touchdowns on that one, plus the 14. Maybe the line did shift a little bit just because the odds makers maybe are considering Shaw to be a little bit of a downgrade. And I know he's a rookie, but like I said, this is not going to be him going in completely cold. It'll be his first start, I believe, but it's not going to be his first game. And you can correct me if I'm wrong because he actually might have played a little bit last year too. So he's not coming in completely cold here as far as his NFL experience. So let's go with it. Let's do it. You're going to bet them, all right, and like them when they win. I hope they win, man. I'm trying to give winners. That's all I do here. I don't want to mislead anybody. But sometimes you're going to have losing days. I mean, we were going so hot, man, that these losing days had to happen. I hope today was just a moderate losing day because yesterday was 1-3, which really pissed me off, especially because the NBA games, I don't really think both of them should have been losses. I'll talk about what happened today, tomorrow. I'll be back not too long from now to talk about tomorrow's card, which I think will be some NBA and some NHL. I think there's usually not a whole lot on Sunday, though, because the NFL usually pretty much dominates it. And then considering maybe doing a college basketball preview tomorrow night, which, again, I don't know. I'm going to sound like an idiot because I don't even know, like, the personnel really. So it would be just me looking at, like, the bracketology and, like, showing the odds and stuff and just completely guessing. But if you want me to just do that and just hang out tomorrow night, we can because college basketball starts on Monday. And typically I don't really actually have plays in the first, like, the absolute first college basketball game, so I usually don't really see an angle, but there are some big games on Monday, and you know I love college basketball, even though my betting this past year in college basketball is horrendous. The last 2 years it was good, but it's my favorite sport, man. I love March Madness, so yeah, I like it way better than the NBA. But the NBA is my best betting sport. So, and that was one of my only wins today. We got that nice win in the NBA today with the Kings, so outright win. I'll be back, though, in the morning. Hopefully you guys like it. Charles, thanks for hanging out, man. Learn to toad on Twitter. Learn to toad on Instagram. Like and subscribe to the show here. Leave a comment. Do all the things. Then we'll do what else? I forget. Dude, I can't think straight anymore. listen on audio is what I was going to say. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. Give me a good review over there. That helps me out. Listening helps me out there, too. I reduced the number of ads because I actually had it maxed out, so I took it down to 2 instead of 3. So probably less money, I guess, if I do that, but it'll be more tolerable. So I did do that. Covered in Uke on YouTube, my Uke channel, patreon.com/LearnToToad, and you can get a Uke Spotify feed and give me some requests to do, which, Charles, only you have requested so far. But I should put out another post out there saying that you can request through DMs on Patreon as well, because it's way easier to do that, right, than to go back and find the post where I said post here, you know what I mean? People should definitely DM me instead. That was the way. Yes, sir. There's still going to be ads, but I'm going to lower them a little bit. You need the ads for monetization. But Charles, hopefully you like Monster Mash and Last Caress. My voice did some weird thing in the second verse. I'm from New York now. The second voice of that song to hear. I can't really do a New York accent. Maybe I can a little bit because it's Italian. I'm still Italian, but I'm from Boston, so. More the Boston accent starts coming out, kid. When I just, start getting pissed about some shit, then it starts coming out. I start fucking sounding like Mark Wahlberg or some shit. All right, that's gonna do it. Thank you, sir. Thanks for hanging out. Clint or Cole? Clint doesn't do college basketball. Cole does. Cole is unfortunately a Duke fan, so I could ask Cole. Cole is a little bit busy right now as well because he is now a father of 2. So, yeah, Cole and Liz had the baby. When was that? It was, I don't know, probably 5 weeks ago, I want to say, somewhere around there. But so they're in the thick of it right now. But congratulations to Cole for being a father again. To Cole and Liz for being father and mother again. So there you go. So I don't know. I might just do it solo, but come hang out if I do it. It'll be fun and really, really stupid. That'll do it for now. Got to get the show up. Try to get some sleep, and peace for now.